Apparently, when Noah made that covenant with God, there was a except for snow in North America in the year of a pandemic clause to that covenant, when God said, I will never again destroy the earth by a flood. But maybe also Noah should have thought to put, unless human beings and their behavior begins to damage the very climate of the earth and forcing the earth to fight for its survival. What an amazing story that story of Noah is, and how it still resonates with us today. It is a story that children love to hear and adults return to again and again. I've come to see this story of the covenant and the rainbow and the flood to be a story about how God learns from God's mistakes, how God changes his mind about how to be in relationship with human beings. So perhaps that was on my mind when in January, I was scrolling through Facebook and noticed a post by one of my colleagues who is a priest in Madison, Wisconsin. She posted about her friend Cece, who lives in Uganda and who is a cake baker and decorator, and how the pandemic has been particularly hard on her small business, people not having extra money for cakes and celebrations, not as many parties. And so my friend Miranda just offered that if we wanted to purchase a cake, Cece would make it and take a picture of it and give it to somebody in Uganda, and we would just get the joy of seeing the cake. And I said, sure, and I sent money to Miranda. And then Cece contacted me and she said, what's the cake for? So I had to kind of scramble, and it was about the time I was celebrating my 15th anniversary of becoming rector of St. John's. So I said, it's my 15th anniversary, and how about baptism? Water, rainbows. You know, one of my favorite images that I've preached on many times is how this St. John's with its wooden ceiling is like an ark that holds us. And so that's exactly what she did. And I want to show you this photo. Here is my anniversary cake. Make it a little bigger so you can see it. An ark full of animals, a wonderful rainbow, fish, and a turtle. And I think it's lovely. And I got a video of, she ended up giving it to a seminary. And so a bunch of priests and their family blessed the cake, cut it, and sang to me on video, and I got that. And being someone who's struggled a lot with eating too much sugar during the pandemic, it was the perfect cake that I didn't eat one bit of. It was a wonderful reminder of, I think, what I signed up for when I came to be rector of St. John's. We hear today in the gospel what Jesus signed up for. And thanks to Mike Underhill, who I should have just asked to preach this sermon, he summed it up very well at Bible study. We've been noticing at Bible study how Mark puts into one story almost the entire summary of Jesus's mission on earth. And he does it again in this very short but jam-packed story. We start with the baptism of Jesus, and we are reminded that from the beginning, God says to Jesus, you are my beloved. In you I am well pleased. God is pleased with Jesus and loves Jesus. But immediately he's tested. His baptism does not protect him from the realities of the world. He is immediately in the wilderness. However, he's not alone in the wilderness. He's with the wild beasts, but they do not hurt him, and angels minister to him. He is never alone, even 40 days in the wilderness. But that isn't the end of the promise. that temptation does not mean he's now finished and can relax, but rather his ministry begins and he goes to preach and to heal and to teach. He is given his calling in the world, and out he goes immediately to share the good news. The only part of the story not mentioned is his death. Though it's in the next verse, we'll get it next Sunday. Jesus begins to tell his disciples that this wonderful mission they've signed up for can end in death. That is the covenant that Jesus and God have. And indeed, that we are offered in baptism. When we become Christians, our covenant with God is to be loved, to be tested, to go on a journey, a mission, and, like it or not, living this life can end up getting you killed. I was reminded of this on Friday when the Lent Madness, the saintly smackdown as it's called, when 32 saints compete for the golden halo. Every day in your email, except for Sundays, you get 2 saints and we are asked to vote on which one we think is more saintly. The ones sent on Friday were challenging. They cleverly called it pro versus con because the saints for that day were Miguel Pro, a Mexican priest in the 1920s, and Constantine the Great, the Roman emperor. There's a little biography of each one, and as you read about Miguel Pro, you begin to realize how complicated the Christian life is, and indeed what it might mean to be a saint or not. He was a Roman Catholic priest at a time when the elite Roman Catholics in Mexico were aligning with US interests and trying to take down the more socialist government of Mexico. Miguel was part of covert operations against the government and was killed because of it. No doubt he was a good and earnest young man, but the politics behind it are more complicated, including the fact that he was beatified by the Pope in 1988, at a time again when the Roman Catholic Church was railing against socialist and communist movements in Latin America, and at first condemning liberation theology. So was Miguel a saint? Did he live the Christian life? If that's complicated, look at Constantine the Great. The legend says that he was in a battle and saw, along with his troops, the sign of the cross in the sky. They fought under that banner and won. And so Constantine, who had a Christian mother, began to be more tolerant of Christians in the Roman Empire in 300 AD. And he began to meld the Roman Empire with Christianity, making Sunday a day of rest. But he didn't actually become baptized until he was on his deathbed in 337. So was he a Christian, or was he just a very smart politician? And we all know that the marriage of empire and colonization and Christianity, we are still suffering the damages all over the world from that unholy union. So should Constantine be considered a saint? This is the complication we get to from a very lovely story of animals on an ark and a rainbow in the sky. And we begin Lent, and we are offered the opportunity to wrestle with our own Christian journey. What does it mean to be a follower of Christ? Can we embrace the idea that God loves us and is pleased with us? Can we hold on to that knowledge even as we are tested, even as life becomes difficult and painful? Can we trust that the angels will minister to us? And are we courageous enough to share that journey with others, to follow a mission given uniquely to us as followers of Jesus? And what does it mean to fulfill that mission, even if it might mean our own death? Today, God offers us a rainbow promise, a covenant. Are we willing to sign up?